Howdy, howdy, and welcome to another wonderful Trash Take. So Elon Musk sat down with Fox today and was talking about some interesting stuff about why he believes Democrats are trying to stop DOGE and why they don't want their corruption exposed. And he's been attacked very heavily in the news since he's basically done a support for Trump. And I kind of want to hear from the man himself. I follow his Twitter account. I got a good understanding, but I want to see what he kind of says. So this is going to be another one of those where I watch a video and I do some commentary over it. Fair warning. I'll put the link to the original video in the description down below too. So if you want to see this without my commentary, feel free. Without further ado.
All right, we welcome to the show and a special interview with Mr. Elon Musk, who, of course, is famed Trump advisor.
Elongated Muskrat. Say his name right.
CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, chair of X Corp.
Why does he sit like that?
We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Is that the autism?
Among other things, everyone's attacking.
Is that
you
how he
for your
schedules his
position.
autism?
What are you doing in the government?
Or channels?
There was a cyber attack on X today, which
I saw this clip earlier.
It may have been
I didn't realize it came from this interview, though.
It's a big story. You want to give us a moment on that?
Well, we're not sure exactly what happened, but there was a massive cyber attack to try to bring down the X system with IP addresses originating in the Ukraine area.
Wow.
Which I want to add, based on what is being reported on Twitter right now, the group that's claimed response for it is like some Shadow Storm, something like that, and they are a pro-Russian group. So it coming out of Ukraine's kind of, I don't know how you'd be pro-Russian and then you're DDoSing from Ukraine, unless you're using devices in Ukraine that are already exposed. I don't know.
So that's your suspicion. Is the website, is the internet up? Is it up yet?
Is the internet up? Yes, the internet is up.
I just was looking back. Let me just see if I get this right. They're setting fire to various Tesla charging stations near Boston.
Yep.
Shots were fired at a Tesla dealership in Oregon. Various nonviolent.
Shots fired.
Where the fuck do they find these people?
Shots fired, yes. Downtown New York, marching against the Tesla showroom. Your stock is way down. You've been criticized left and right.
But look on the bright side.
I mean, why are you doing this?
Always look on
the bright side is if you're a stock investor and you haven't invested in Tesla, now's probably a decent time to buy in. Not financial advice, but that's the only real bright side.
On the bright side of life?
Yes. I'm an optimist.
But besides that.
Yes. I mean,
the stock market's taking a shit, though. So his stock being down is not very special.
It's tough sledding.
Yeah, it is tough sledding. But I think we're doing the right thing here. There's been a tremendous amount of waste and fraud in the government. When you're part of the government, you saw a lot of that, and there's been if you look at the Inspector General reports and the Government Accountability Office,
they've reported fraud.
There've been many audits that have pointed out.
They said that
there's
probably
a tremendous amount of waste and fraud in the government.
I think the Inspector General said there's probably like $500 billion worth of fraud they find a year on transactions, but they don't do anything about it. They just reported this.
Government. In fact, there was a report issued by the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, last year. So during the Biden administration, which estimated the federal government fraud to be $500 billion.
Yeah. So 500 billion, $500 billion, same thing. Yeah, I saw the same report. That was like yesterday on Twitter. People were like, hey guys, this isn't Elon Musk only finding corruption. Here's Biden's administration and people under the Biden administration saying there's government corruption. The only difference is they did nothing about it. They're just saying there's fraud without really cutting off any of the fraud or putting people to the grill.
But just to be clear, that's not a Trump administration thing. That's a Biden administration thing. So what we're trying to do.
And then I think there was a community note that's saying it's not really a Biden administration. It was just a department. So there's just people that work governmental jobs. So it wasn't really a Biden administration. He didn't point anyone for there was the community note, which is like splitting hairs. It was under the Biden administration that this happened, which it's not like it's a bad thing. Coming out with a report to say there's government corruption, I'd say is a pretty good thing no matter who's doing it, right or left. I don't care. I want corruption to stop. Biden and any other president, if you're having reports of $500 billion worth of fraud, you should probably task some people to look into that. That seems like a pretty big fucking deal if you actually care about the American people.
Is get that number down to a much smaller figure, save money for the American taxpayer, stop money being spent on things that I think very few taxpayers would agree make sense. Transgender animal surgeries, or why are we spending money?
That shit was hilarious because Trump said that during the State of Union address or during the address to Congress the other night, and CNN fact-checked to say Donald Trump was wrong, and then they had to actually issue a retraction because Trump was right. They spent like $8 million on this shit. across different programs, and they're trying to say, well, it wasn't really transgender, but it was like they were giving drugs for rats that have basically gone through a trans surgery and were taking hormone supplements. Like, where the government's spending money on shit that makes no fucking sense.
American tax dollars being spent on this. The president's gone through a long list of absurd things. Why are the 20 million people who are definitely dead marked as alive in the Social Security database?
See, I think the reason for that is those people are actually donating. If my schizo time, I think Act Blue, and from what I can tell, it's been very corrupt for a while, where people are donating small dollar donations via dead people or people that don't realize that they're being donated or their name's being donated with. There's a video of O'Keefe talking to an old woman who donated 1,000 times in a single year for like $18,000. Very small money amounts, because apparently, I don't know if it's true, but from what I was seeing online, it's like something about the limit or the size of the money donated. If it isn't above a certain threshold, it doesn't really get audited for the most part. So the thought is, find an old person who doesn't use the internet, have their information, and use that to make donations via behalf of like China or some shit. That's what everyone's currently, that's the current theory online. And I think if they're using dead people's IDs or dead people's locations that are still active in the system, that would probably work too. Why the fuck not? There was some report like, there's like $500 million worth of loans that were taken out for kids under 8 years old that were approved by the government or some shit like that. Like, there's some crazy amount of shit that's going on with fraud in America. Whether or not it's old people or young people, there's fucking fraud everywhere.
Why were hundreds of millions of dollars of small business administration loans were given out to people aged 11 and under?
Oh, yeah, that's... So I should have let him talk. That's fucking hilarious. Yeah, so this is... Elon's basically recapping all the shit he's been talking about. Like I said, I'm active on Twitter. I watch a lot of Elon's posts on Twitter because I'm curious to see what kind of information he's putting out there. I'm curious to see how much of it is real. He's a very intelligent person. Despite what you think, he's the only guy to successfully catch a rocket coming out of space, or at least the booster for it. So, despite what AOC says, he is an intelligent person. I know the bartender calling the rocket scientist a retard, kind of ironic, but...
According to the Social Security, I mean, like, these must be some very enterprising 8-year-olds, you know?
Yeah,
pretty strong
ambitious children.
50-year-olds.
Yes, exactly. As the president said, you know, we have an enormous number of people marked as alive who are 160. He didn't know the country was that healthy.
Yes.
You know?
So
Trump's America, baby. We're going to live to 300.
Okay, how big is your team?
Yeah.
God, that sounds terrible.
Where'd you recruit most of them from? And what is it that makes you choose, you know, the Treasury or Social Security or USAID? How does it work? Let the public know, please.
Right. Well, we just basically follow the money. You know, we look at the president's executive orders, and we also just follow the money. So we started looking closely at USAID because they were completely violating the president's executive orders to suspend foreign aid. You know, what's called foreign aid. But
I wonder how he knew they weren't suspending foreign aid, because as far as I know, he didn't have access to the Treasury yet. So how did he know they weren't suspending foreign aid?
In our view, is a lot of corruption. So what we saw there is just
people on the inside, maybe whistleblowing.
And
now they're out of a job for it.
Non-governmental organizations. But actually, this, by the way, is I think one of the biggest sources of fraud in the world is government-funded non-governmental organizations.
Yeah.
This is a gigantic fraud loophole.
Yeah.
Where the government can give money to an NGO. And then that there are no controls over that NGO.
There's no strings attached to the money. They can literally do whatever the fuck they want for it. You could have an NGO that says peace, love, and happiness, and then they're like literally selling crack to kids in Africa and using the money they make off that to bring more homeless people from South America to America. Like, it's literally, they can do whatever the fuck they want with their money. Like, it's, once they got the money, there is no requirement from the government to do whatever they said they were going to do. Now, if you want more money, you probably should. But it's also the current thing of where they're finding out a bunch of these NGOs. It's like senators' wives are like boards of the NGO. Whoa. And they're being paid 6-figure salaries. And they're also getting a few $1 million a year in grants from the government. So it seems like it's a very big conflict of interest with all these NGOs. There might be some good that was here, but there seems to be a lot of corruption at face value almost immediately looking at these NGOs. That's why USA need to go.
NGO. So they've given billions of dollars, in fact, we estimate tens of billions of dollars to NGOs that are essentially scams.
Mm-hmm. And it's legal scams. That's the catcher. It's a legal scam. The government gives this money, no questions asked. You have no right to demand it back, and what they're doing is not even illegal. It's just a scam. It's just fraud, which I know fraud's kind of illegal, but it's like, if you have an NGO and you're publicly posting that you have 100% of all donations will go to overhead costs to help pay for your vacations, it's not a scam. I mean, you've disclosed what you're going to do with that money previously before you received it, right? Like, I don't view that as a scam. It's like those meme coins that pump and dump where people are literally posting, hey, you will 100% lose your money on this, but it could go to the moon. And then you put your money and it goes to zero. Damn, I didn't know. Like, you don't really have a grounds to sue them there. I mean, they're literally calling it a meme coin with no real availability or no real use to it, and they are scamming you, and they're being open about it.
That, so
the only one to blame is you.
Secretary of State Rubio just come out, I think he tweeted today, he has accepted over 80% of your recommendations to shut down in USAID.
Right.
So
Elon doesn't have full authority to actually shut anything down because he's kind of like a contractor. So there's actually like a supervisor, I believe it's Marco Rubio at the moment, who's going through and looking at all the stuff he's saying to can and actually has the final approval to can the stuff that he wants gone. So it's not Elon Musk. Elon just sets it up for suggestion and tells the current contracts to be put on hold. And then Marco Rubio or an actual government official will go through and say, yep, we're canceling this. Which is actually funny. Elon lost in the Supreme Court recently because a judge ruled that America needed to keep paying out money to canceled contracts. Which, if you think about it, I guess it kind of makes sense. I mean, the judge has no authority to really say that the government can't pay this funds out. Like, that's kind of autistic. But at the same time, if the government's already entered into a contract with someone, I don't think the government can just pull out when they feel like it. Like, a contract's a contract. It's a legally binding document. You can't just say, I'm the government and I'm not going to do this anymore. But Supreme Court ruled that it was in favor of the lower tier judge, but at the same time, the lower tier judge had like no real authority to rule on this or to bring it before the Supreme Court. So it was kind of like a what the fuck is happening moment where, yeah, the government shouldn't pull out of this, but this judge also had no authority to bring this up in the first place.
Your review and analysis was spot on.
I know everyone's like, oh, it shouldn't matter, but that is important. Both parts of that are important. There are two sides to every story, and both things can make sense.
When people criticize, say, what DOGE is doing, we say, well, which part specifically? Because we put all of the actions of the DOGE
and Democrats can't do that. They just point at Elon Musk
website and on the DOGE handle on X. So we post the receipts. So it's like this action has been taken, this action has been taken. So when we get criticism,
this is the most transparent
of what?
This has been the most transparent agency America's ever had. They've literally been posting everything they're doing.
Which line do you disagree with? Like which
I think, to be fair, there have been some like people that have pointed out some things. Like I believe it was a bunch of the park rangers got fired based off DOGE's recommendation, but then people realized, hey, that these are actual people with positions that are doing a job. This isn't like a scam. Like, these are actual people who work here. So I think they got hired back on too, because people can make mistakes. And it seems to me they are being receptive to feedback despite what Democrats say. So if they make a mistake, they're immediately backpedaling and making up for it, which is fine by me. I don't think people that need to be fired that actually do a service to the country. I think that there's a lot of people that say they're doing a service, they're doing jack fucking shit.
Which cost saving do you disagree with? And then people usually can't think of any.
Yes, because you're not arguing. Because they don't have to actually make a logical appeal. They make an emotional appeal that Elon Musk bad man, stop bad man. Okay. Like, that's all it is. That's what it boils down to. Elon Musk bad man, DOGE corruption, Elon Musk conflict of interest, when no, and no across the board.
It's transparent line by line.
It's transparent line by line.
Which is quite remarkable.
Yeah, go to the website. It's
and so,
like doge.gov. Don't go to doge.com. That's a scam.
With respect to the Treasury, for example, the two main recommendations we suggested, which have now been implemented, was that any payments going out of the Treasury, especially the Treasury's main payment computer, which is called PAM, things like a payments account manager or something like that, but it's like almost $5 trillion a year, so about $1 billion an hour.
Jesus.
That the payments be coded with the congressional appropriation, and that there be an explanation for the payment.
Yes, they have to have a code behind it of why it's happening.
And just doing that, we estimate will save $100 billion a year.
Basic auditing, that's like basic auditing 101. If you have transactions that are going out and you can't trace them back, you can't audit them to see where they're going to, and that is the biggest flaw and that'd be the easiest way to scam. And if a company did that, they'd probably go under really quickly. I think they'd probably be investigated for a lot more than fraud. They'd have the actual government coming in to handle that case. But the government doing it, there's no real checks and balances. You have to have someone that's actually making recommendations, and apparently Elon Musk was in the position to make that recommendation, and it got approved, which is good. Because at least now you'll see in the future that transactions are coming out that $1 billion an hour. You can account what every single billion was appointed for, which that should have been like that already.
You're not really, let me see if I get this right, particularly with Social Security, you're not really changing policy.
No,
he has no authority over
auditing
policy.
The fiscal mechanisms to make sure that, you know.
Well, I guess technically him adding the codes or telling people to do the codes is them changing that policy, right?
In some cases, it doesn't get there. Or
he doesn't have the ability to stop Social Security.
But that's it's not a policy exercise. You're not changing laws. You're just doing what any business would do in a profit and loss audit.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
What we're adding here is caring and competence. And there's a massive amount of fraud of basically people submitting Social Security numbers for Social Security benefits, unemployment, small business administration loans, and medical, where those are fake Social Security numbers, or they've stolen somebody else's Social Security number, and we're trying to put a stop to all of that. And that's the number which is estimated to be on the order of 10% of federal expenditures, which is
10% fraud,
half $500 billion.
It's a huge number.
Or 10% Social Security.
You're working with the agency heads. You're working with the cabinet secretaries.
Yes.
He didn't really
I
specify.
saw Howard Lutnick was on TV yesterday saying you were partnering with them. Is that fair?
Yeah, what we do is in consultation with the cabinet secretaries and with their departments. So
yes, he comes in as an outsider.
we're really trying to be we'll refer to ourselves as tech support. You know, we're really helping the department get a handle on things, because
Reprogram,
what actually happens
reassess,
here is you've got this
standardize.
sort of vast federal bureaucracy,
And there's no
then
communication.
You've got a very thin layer on top of the politically appointed officials, and what tends to happen is that
like typically there's one head that's appointed. Everyone else basically just has a job there. They just get hired on by applying to the website. Like there's only one real elected official. Everyone else isn't an elected official. They're all a bunch of government employees. That's why I thought it was crazy. Elon Musk isn't elected. I was like, no, he wasn't elected. He was kind of appointed by Trump. But I mean, like, none of the people that he's auditing are elected either. Like, it's not that long of an idea. Apply your logic consistently across the board here. If you're mad about Elon Musk not being elected, why aren't you mad about all the government employees that weren't elected that are basically complicit in fraud? Or so incompetent it looks like fraud.
Control. And they largely ignore the politically appointed people.
Why should the bureaucracy?
I'm sure you must have seen that.
I've lived with this twice. I worked for Reagan many years ago, and I worked for Trump in the first term.
Yeah.
It's like a permanent bureaucracy. I might add, it's a permanently liberal bureaucracy.
Yes, very much so.
And it doesn't. It's not a bureaucracy that necessarily enforces.
Like, what's it? 95% of DC voted for Kamala in the last election, and that's where most of these agencies are headed. They are liberal as shit.
So
that is a fair statement.
Is the elected representative of the people. And if the president cannot get things implemented as a reflection of the will of the people, then what we have is not a democracy, we have a bureaucracy. We have rule of the bureau, not rule of the people.
Yes, where the bureaucracy trumps everything. That's what they make. That's what they call a deep state. That's where that comes from.
Rule of the people. You know, and as you mentioned, the bureaucracy is overwhelmingly Democrat. So Washington, D.C. was 92.5%, I believe,
92.
Voted for Kamala.
I was close.
It's overwhelmingly a deep blue situation.
How do you pick your next targeted agency or department?
Well, we're
going through the list. There's like 300.
We're trying to act broadly across all departments, so it's not just one department at a time.
Yeah, you don't have enough time yet to be official.
Are you in all of them now? All of them?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes. Oh.
We're trying to make the government more efficient across the board. So yeah.
How big's your team?
We're a little over 100 at this point.
100.
Get to 200.
You're going to get to 200.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're recruiting from where? More or less.
Basically, it's software people, information security software people,
IT nerds,
and finance.
Because they have to have people go into these departments who all have their own different programs and procedures and figure out how the fuck they're actually run and what programs they're using to do their daily tasks, and then try to find a way to bring that into the rest of the federal threshold So it requires IT nerds to come in and either reprogram or program something.
You know, it's basically, yeah, finance and technology. I mean, frankly, I can't believe I'm here doing this. It's kind of bizarre, but I kind of think that the
government should have been able to do this years ago.
Yeah, we've got this enormous federal budget deficit, and it's a $2 trillion deficit. It keeps growing. Our interest payments are higher than our Defense Department budget. That's I think
Holy
was the
shit.
real wake-up call for me.
Really?
Looking at seeing that the interest payments on national debt exceeded the Defense Department budget.
That's fucking crazy.
And
Have you
was
seen our
only growing
military?
over
Holy
time.
shit.
This meant if we didn't do something about this, then there won't be any money for anything. We'll just be servicing debt.
And you know how to read an income
At that
statement.
point, you're a country that's basically in servitude to the debt, right?
You know how to read a balance sheet. You've had some business experience. I'm kidding, but you know about this stuff.
Hey, pal, he sold.
Yeah, I mean, really, I just don't want America to go bankrupt.
So it's a call to action. You're
What happens if a country goes bankrupt, though?
Yeah.
How's Europe not gone bankrupt?
You giving up your other stuff? I mean, how are you running your other businesses?
Well, Tesla,
with great difficulty.
going slightly down. SpaceX probably doing good for government contracts.
But there's no turning back, you're saying.
I'll be honest, I thought Elon Musk would have been assassinated within the first week of him being part of DOGE because of how much pushback there was from Reddit for them and their extreme rhetoric calling for his death and all the kids' death. Like, I honestly thought Elon Musk would have been assassinated within the first week of DOGE. That's just me putting that out there. I don't want him dead. I'm just saying I 100% thought that people are freaking the fuck out on a level I truly haven't seen before, and I've already went through the first Trump election. This is like some level of schizo that's off the fucking charts every single day.
Just here trying to make government more efficient, eliminate waste and fraud, and so far we're making good progress, actually. So our savings at this point exceed $4 billion a day. Mm-hmm. So it's very significant.
You think you'll wind up getting to $1 trillion
Yeah.
of savings?
I mean, unless we're stopped, we will get to $1 trillion of savings.
And that stuff can be translated. I mean, we've been talking, we had Russell Vogt, the OMB director, on earlier, through very rescission authority, impoundment authority.
Actually, $4 billion a day, that's pretty fucking good.
It's an audit that will not gather dust on shelves. This is actually going to wind up
I thought it was less.
Real
it was like
savings,
$4 million a day.
Bend the spending baseline down.
100x.
Yeah. There have been many good audits, like I said, done by inspector generals and by government accountability office, and they just haven't been implemented. Nothing's been done.
Yeah, I think it's like every year the Pentagon fails its audit, right? They're always like a few $1 billion missing that they just can't account for whatsoever. Like, it's some crazy ass shit like that. And it's like, we failed again. Better look next year. And that's it. Like, you audit, but if nothing comes of the audit, then what the fuck's the point in auditing? There's no reason to audit.
I think the GAO identified that there were 17 million dead people in the Social Security database several years ago. It's now 20 million, but nobody did anything about it.
And
is there been a reason for that? Has anyone come up with a good solution that actually makes
sense? Look at
sense?
this as a complaint minimization optimization. So basically, if the government sends money out to, whether it's wasteful or fraudulent, nobody complains if they receive money.
No.
But they do complain if they don't receive money.
Yeah.
And the people that complain the loudest.
Guys, the government said they were going to send us $100 million. They sent us $200 million. That's their mistake, buddy.
Are the ones receiving the fraudulent money.
And you're on it.
Yeah. I mean, so the goal here is let's not have America go bankrupt with waste and fraud.
I genuinely don't see why you could hate Elon for doing
that's
this.
What I'm here for, and we're making good progress.
Yes, you are. You're going to go another year?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it goes till July 2026 is when the program shuts
middle
down.
Of next year?
Well, we're just getting things done as opposed to writing a report. Like I say, reports don't mean anything. You got to actually take action.
Yes.
So.
An audit, normally when it ends, there's an audit report or a summary of your findings. But I guess with what they're doing with the DOGE website, it's basically a running summary of everything they've done so far. So I'd say it's kind of, you don't really need a comprehensive report. The DOGE website's pretty all-encompassing.
The waste report in entitlement spending, which is all of the.
I would want to see a report for every single division they go through, every department.
So
where they cut funding, what to look out for.
That's the big one to eliminate, because that's the sort of $500 billion, maybe $700 billion a year. That is also a mechanism by which the Democrats attract and retain illegal immigrants by essentially paying them to come here, and then turning them into voters.
Hold on. I missed something.
Which is most of the federal spending is entitlements.
Entitlements.
So that's like the big one to eliminate, because that's the sort of $500 billion, maybe $700 billion a year. That is also a mechanism by which the Democrats attract and retain illegal immigrants by essentially paying them to come here.
Yeah, that's like them paying for their house, their board, their food, their health care, their education while they're here. Like, that's what's going on in New York with them being put up in fucking 5-star hotels.
And then turning them into voters.
Yeah. Yes. Because it is legal to vote in some states if you're an illegal immigrant. You can't vote in federal elections, but you can vote in local elections, I think in New York. And then in California, it's illegal to show your fucking ID, which is batshit crazy, because that's only there to help fraud. There's only one reason you would do that, and is if you want people to vote illegally. There is no other reason for it. There is no logical answer. If your response is, well, some people don't have a driver's license or they're too stupid, then you're fucking like racist and retarded.
So this is why the Democrats are so upset about the situation, because they're losing
potential voters.
If we turn off this gigantic money magnet for illegal immigrants, then they will leave, and they'll.
Yeah, if they can come to this country and basically get all this shit for free and have a higher quality of life on the taxpayer dime, why the fuck wouldn't you do that? That's what it looks like to me. If I lived in like fucking South America and I heard America's giving out phones, internet, housing, food for free and I don't got to do anything, I'd fucking come here. And that's exactly what they were doing. That's exactly what was happening at the taxpayer dime. Like, that shit's batshit crazy. I would do that 100%. Fuck that. I would move here immediately. Like, I completely understand why these people did it. Don't get me wrong. That's a pretty easy to understand. I'm a human being. I can completely understand if I have a shittier quality of life and there's a country that's basically giving away everything free and premium for no real cause or no real reason besides that they have a party that wants them to eventually make you a citizen so you'll keep voting for you to get free shit. Fuck that. I would do it in a heartbeat. 100% reasonable. They're trying to scam the system. That's all it is.
Lose voters.
So you need a better system.
He said so again yesterday. He completely supports your operation.
Yeah. Well, thanks. But that's super. Without the president's support, we couldn't make any progress here.
Despite what the news is saying that these two hate each other, they really don't.
Yeah, I mean,
no reason to believe the news.
The biggest outcry is from the Democrats who are they don't want the waste and fraud to be turned off.
They've been caught with their hand in a cookie jar.
A gigantic magnet to attract illegal immigrants and have them stay in the country. And I mean, you see some.
They were literally paying for flights to bring these people out of their third world country and then resettling them in American cities and then paying for their hotels, paying for their rent, paying for their food, paying for everything that they would possibly ever need without really ever a requirement or a shut-off valve. It's basically just free Social Security immediately for people that have never paid a single dime into Social Security, never paid taxes at all. They're coming here getting the full benefits of someone that might be homeless that desperately needs it. Yeah, well, that guy, he's not homeless. He just came from a third world country, so he gets immediate access to. Oh, your entire family's been paying taxes to help subsidize you because now you're on hard times. Well, your entire family's also been paying for this random guy to get a free flight from his third world country into America. Like, that shit's crazy to me. It's like, I no way, shape, or form should this infinite empathy be allowed. Like, this is autistic. You are going to run this country into the ground.
The crazy stuff, like where money from FEMA, which is meant, FEMA is an agency that's meant to take care of Americans in distress. And a bunch of their money was being sent to pay for luxury hotels in New York for illegal immigrants. And that was happening even after the president was elected, and even after he signed an executive order saying that needs to stop. So we actually made sure that that money did stop going, because it's obviously outrageous that American taxpayer money is spent on luxury hotels for illegals.
You're telling me a Walmart American would hear that they're barely able to afford groceries this week and illegals just got flown out from some random country and are now getting put up in 5-star hotels in New York, getting free phones, getting free internet, getting free food, and I can barely afford to pay rent? Yeah, it's no wonder Kamala lost.
But you have to say, like, why was that being done? It was because the Democrats are trying to import voters, basically.
Yes.
And they're doing them into sanctuary cities where they won't have to be forced to leave.
And that's also why there's no voter ID needed. In fact, in California, and
it's illegal to show your ID in Cali.
You're not allowed to show.
They passed a law.
Isn't that seem insane?
Insane.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd say that as a New Yorker. It's insane.
Yeah, insane.
Fucking crazy.
And it violates the entire Constitution and the principles behind it.
You can't verify your elections are secure at that point. So all of your results should be thrown in the air.
Fun.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you one thing?
But that also happened with Colorado, too, where their fucking elected official in charge of basically the voting booths had some complete electronic system, and the retard put on a government website that was basically open access to anybody, an Excel sheet that had a hidden tab on it that you could just unhide, like right-clicking and clicking unhide on Excel, and it had the passwords to every single voter machine in the state. Like, what the fuck, man? How fucking incompetent do these retards have to be? Whether it was intentional or accidental, either way, they need to be fucking removed.
20 seconds. Nothing to do with DOGE. Can you rescue the astronauts?
Yes, we're bringing them back in a few weeks.
There's not near enough attention being paid to this. You'll go.
Yeah, his last rocket kind of lost control and exploded in the air. So let's see how that goes. He is able to catch rockets, and he's openly admitted to when they're sending rockets up, they're using different materials and trying different things, like purposefully to stress test or to see if they can use other items itself to put into space that are cheaper or better. They are testing it, and with every test comes the chance of failure. It's not that uncommon, but the news freaks the fuck out because right now hating on Elon is the most popular thing to maybe get you laid among liberal women. I genuinely don't understand. I don't know. But that looks like that's the end of this interview. That was a pretty good interview from the elongated muskrat. Hope to see him do some good things for the Department of Government Efficiency. I want to see how it looks next year in July. That'll be I think that is the cutoff. It's only was supposed to last for like a year and a half is what they had funding for from the previous administration. I highly doubt the current administration, or at least Congress, is going to approve any bills to give DOGE more finance to hire more people. Democrats are absolutely feral when they hear Elon's name right now and are pretty open about it too, for whatever reason they can throw in the air that's normally incoherent ramblings and rantings. So yeah, it's pretty cool. We have a bunch of retarded elected officials, basically what I'm learning more and more and more every single day. Really great, awesome, and beautiful. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. If you like the video, feel free to comment down below, subscribe to my channel, or like the video itself. Yeah, I do a lot of random dog shit like this, and been doing political commentary and then making fun of random shit that I see. I'm bored. This is me being bored. Yeah, I'm bored. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. See you in the next video. Until then, later.